Tell us, Ian, because I mean, obviously you've been a Leicester manager. You know what the football club's about. Brendan's having a really tricky time of it. You have to remind yourself, yes, they won the FA Cup and he's produced some really good teams, but it feels like Leicester team and a lot of things around that side have fallen apart in recent months.
Kaz, I got to be blunt with you. There'll be people throwing their breakfast rolls at you and at the radio in a minute if I start to even dream of criticising Brendan Rodgers. All I can do is give you what a huge, wonderful football club Leicester is. For me, everything went wrong. I had 72 players. I've never seen anything like it. I'd left Plymouth and picked up that club without a clue of what was happening. I just believed in myself and I thought I could do something. So Brendan, really, he's brought his own problems by winning the FA Cup and by looking like he could get in that top four, and they've slipped out every time. So I still believe he's got a very young squad. There's an awful lot of talent in it, and I would still believe in him. I honestly do. I think he knows what he's doing. Every club goes through good times and bad times, and unfortunately, I'm going to drag up what Bill Shankly said a long, long time ago, mate. If you can't support us when we draw and when we lose, don't you dare support us when we win. And I think we've had such bad times in this COVID that it's easy to get a little bit carried away. So I'd like to cut Brendan some massive slack. I think they're in a bad state at the moment. Confidence is very low. By the way, Nottingham Forest were absolutely brilliant last week to beat them in the FA Cup. Let's be perfectly blunt about it.
Yeah. And Ian,
yeah, go on.
I was going to say to you, Ian, does that show? I mean, look, I've never done management, and I'm always, very conscious about.
Why not, Kaz? Why not?
Well, it never quite developed. But anyway, but I realise that it's nearly impossible sometimes. It feels like scenarios. If you don't walk into the right circumstances, and you've managed many clubs, Ian, you know that if not everything's in place, it makes your job way harder.
That is the truth. When you look at Leicester, you'd feel that they'd have everything in place, wouldn't you? Let's be perfectly blunt. I think they're still rocking from losing their owner. I mean, it was quite shocking for everybody that one of the best owners, if not the best owner in football, who cares about the community, who cares about the city that he works for, dies in a helicopter crash. I mean, that is going to knock you senseless, isn't it? So they've done well as a family to continue and to want to do their dad proud, and I believe it just give them a bit of time. I honestly don't like all of this chop and change. It doesn't make sense. If you analyse who's doing that at the moment, Watford do it more than anyone, and I feel for Roy at the moment, because you can't do anything in a few months. It's just nonsense. So I would rather look at it long term and say, right, I think Brendan's got a great pedigree. I think he improves people. Maybe they went slightly too young throughout their whole group and throughout their whole team, to be honest with you. They've got to try and replace Vardy. He's getting on a little bit now. So I would cut him some slack. I still think they've got some wonderful, wonderful players. But I understand how tough it is and how demanding it is at this moment in time to be a football manager. It is quite possibly the worst time ever to do it, Honestly, that's how I feel.
Is there also, Ian, like an element of, you say cut them some slack and cut Brendan Rodgers some slack? Are Leicester a team that actually have recently been exceeding expectations? Now, I know the last couple of seasons they've been fighting for the top four and then they've fallen away. Is that because really they have just exceeded expectations and now we're putting the pressure on them because we just expect them to do better?
I honestly do feel the better you do, the more expectation you build, but that's what you want. I'm sure Pep Guardiola wants that every year. He keeps talking about Liverpool improving him, and the battle with Klopp improves him. So I still see Brendan learning and getting better. This is what people don't understand, and I'm being brutally honest here. If I want to see Brendan go through something tough to come out the other side. All of this chopping and changing all the time never brings success. If the clubs that's done it the most, Chelsea, how much more success would they have had if they'd have had a Sir Alex Ferguson in there for 20 odd years? We can't argue with that. I really don't know. Kaz, that's your teammate. You played for them. And how they chop and change all the time, it's ridiculous.
The Sunday Sports Breakfast with Natalie Sawyer and Tony Cascarino. Sunday mornings from 6 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.